yes.
All I know is this violates every canon of respectable broadcasting.
How are you?
Hey, who wants to help me get this recorder out of here? I need some muscle over here.
You are listening to Blame Your Brother.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again to Blame Your Brother, episode 104. We are back once again, streaming live right now on Facebook and YouTube. So, hey, if you're available on Thursday nights, come check us out. BlameYourBrother.tv will take you there. But, hey, we're back once again. Blame Your Brother. There's three of us that come to you every week. I am one third of that trio. I am David, a.k.a. D-Brew, voice of the people, Mr. 40%, Glenn Jackson, Nick Nickum, the spiritual midget. And I'm joined by this guy who sits all the way to the left over there. It's my brother. It's Lee.
What up, everyone? I'm the real Nick Nickum and also LeBron's safety pin.
There you go. And this guy that sits over here to the right almost needs no explanation, no introduction, but we'll do it anyway. It's the one. It's only. It's John.
Hey, John here, a.k.a. Zero Doc Torty. I can't even talk.
Yep.
Mr. Groupon, PTI, and the Madman.
They got John Tortorella, a madman.
They do a madman.
Okay, he's a madman.
Okay, so usually three of us, but tonight we have a special guest. And Lee, I'll let you. Why don't you introduce who the guest is? Because this is all Lee's makings happening right here. So go ahead.
We have the amazing Becky Warren.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. What's
Do you
up?
have any AKAs or nicknames you want to share?
No, I always wanted one. I could never acquire a nickname.
All right, who knows? By the end of the
I
show,
tried
you
to
might
make
have
Snake
one.
Eyes work for a while, but it never really caught on.
I mean, you just gotta own it.
Just
you know.
keep telling people.
Just tell people. They'll
Eventually.
they'll
Okay.
get it.
Yeah, maybe by the end of the show.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's cross our fingers. So, yeah. So thanks so much for coming out. How this came to happen is we had done a little piece in what's it called? Scoop Nashville or East? Is that it?
The Scoop.
It's okay. I was make sure he's got a few. All right. So we did an interview there, a little write up for our 24-hour stream, and we listed. Me and Lee did. John didn't do any of it. It's weird. But who our ideal guest would be, and Lee said Becky Warren, and bam, here she is in the flesh.
It's such an attainable dream.
Well, dream small. But no, he's been telling us about you for how long?
Let's see, we're on episode 104.
So it's like
3, episode 3.
Since 3. But yeah, he's a big
I need
fan.
that.
Yeah.
I need that kind of promotion, so thank you.
Well, good. Yeah, we're spreading the word. And I've been listening to a lot of Spotify on you this week, so I'm definitely catching up. I should have done it before now, but thanks so much for coming out. So
No, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
And you're going to do a song or two?
Yeah, whatever y'all want.
All
A
right.
song or two, talk about
Yeah,
anything.
for sure. All right. So we'll get going, but before we do that, we have to do something we do every week. We have to make room for any apologies, omissions, retractions, anything we said on last week's episode that may have been out of bounds. So we'll start. Lee, is there anything you need to apologize for?
I think I'm clean, actually.
That's not what you said before the show started.
Well, I mean, there was the whole thing with the rocking pod thing that was a little
yeah.
awkward. Maybe we just need to time our Skype calls a little better.
Yeah, probably so.
For those that weren't listening, John had a major reveal on the show last week, where he had just found out his son has autism, so he was coming out and talking about it, discussing it. And then right as he was getting ready to get into the thick of it, we had a Skype phone call from Rocking Pod Expo that we took. The guy felt really bad about it in hindsight, so we'll try harder to hang up on that guy next time he calls.
There you go. All right, John, anything that stood out for you from last week?
No, not really.
Okay, good. All right.
What about you?
Yeah.
You don't want to apologize to Philadelphia.
No, I don't. I think
cheesesteak lovers.
Nope. Trash city still sticking by it.
Cal Ripken.
Maybe. I speak gospel, it's truth, so we'll move on past it.
Kiss nerds, maybe. I don't know.
I didn't say anything about Kiss nerds, but we can talk about that later. So we'll get Becky's opinion on Kiss nerds in a little bit. All right. So then I guess we'll get started then. So Becky, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start off. Where are you from originally? You were telling
So I grew up in Atlanta, and then much as John moved, I moved around the same age to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I didn't meet two best friends, which is maybe a shame. But if I had, maybe I wouldn't be here. So
that's true.
That's how things work out. But yeah, Atlanta and Charlotte.
Okay. And so I've always wondered this when I hear people, you were doing a little warm up before the show started and you sounded amazing. When did you know you could sing? What age?
I always loved music, and so I just always sang, and I don't think I realized that it was any good until I started just doing it in front of other people sometimes. And I've always been kind of quiet. And so I remember a music teacher just like pointed at me to sing a solo in choir maybe when I was in like 4th grade or something. And then she was like, holy crap. She probably didn't say that because I was 9, but she was like, oh, you can sing. And so it was something probably a lot of people didn't know about. And then I asked for a guitar because I liked making songs too. And then I started writing almost as soon as I got that guitar.
Nice. So there you go. Any musical people in your family, or were you the it?
Well, my dad, so I'm an only child, which I always feel a little embarrassed admitting because I feel like it suggests all kinds of terrible things about you. But hopefully I will not prove any of those things.
Do you play
true.
well with others?
I think I do. Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask others. But,
Others, if you're out there, please Skype us in.
Please,
we will
in the
promptly
chat,
ignore your call.
Just say how terrible I
There
am,
you go.
and then everyone will know. But my dad was a huge music lover. He had a big record collection. He was always listening to music. And kind of like me, like he'd get fixated on one song or one album. He'd just listen to it over and over again. So I think that was a big influence on me. But he didn't really play music. My mom played the piano and would play occasionally when I was a kid. And so, there was a little bit of musicality, but nobody that, was interested in doing it full time like me.
There you go.
Do you remember like the first song or songs that you wrote?
I do. Yeah.
Really? What's the subject material?
Yeah. So the very first song I remember writing, I think it maybe was even before I got my guitar, but I'm not sure about that. I was really into the movie Dead Poet Society, right? So this was like 1991. That puts you back there. And I really liked the character Charlie, who you probably wouldn't even remember unless you've seen that movie.
I remember Charlie.
John
No, Wanda.
He was, the tortured artist, kind of. So I wrote like a little love song about Charlie. I think that was my first real song.
What age? So what age?
I think I was
like
probably 11 or 12.
Okay, wow, it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good song.
Right, yeah.
I did write it.
Well, there you go. Now, who were your musical influences? Like your dad was listening to a lot of music. What was on in the house, or what did you hear that really stuck with you?
Well, my dad was a huge Stones fan. That was his favorite band. And yeah, he had pretty good taste.
Yeah.
And then he got into other stuff like over time. So he had this Doors period, like shortly after that Doors movie came out, where he like only listened to the Doors.
I think we all had that, right?
Yeah.
No?
And, you didn't do that?
No, I don't like the
okay.
Doors, but that's all right.
It's all right. It was a time.
Right.
And then he
Not
got
enough bass? I don't...
too many piano solos.
Yeah,
That's my
just
guess.
Jim
A lot of
Morrison
work.
himself. But yeah.
Yeah. He got really into Mary Chapin Carpenter at one point, which is amazing because now I've met her and I got to open for her once, and that was like really a high point of my life. And my sort of first really hugely influential bands were I was a big Billy Joel fan when I was in like kindergarten.
That was me all the way.
Yeah.
Like,
Love
what
Billy
was
Joel.
the music he was putting out? Because he's kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
so the album that came out like when I was in kindergarten was Innocent Man.
Okay.
So really good album. Like almost every song on that album was a hit.
I
And
remember
then-
buying River of Dreams, going down
yeah.
to Target. That was like one of my
That was
first
way
tapes.
later.
Yeah, that was a few albums later.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, my friend Emily Mason and I, instead of playing house, we would play Billy Joel and Christy Brinkley, and I would be Billy Joel and she would be Christy Brinkley, and I would just like sing, and she would bring me things, and I think I learned a lot about marriage and music by doing that, probably. But and then later I got really into the Black Crowes because I was living in Atlanta, and they were I was kind of into what was happening there, so that was another band, and they had a lot of overlap sonically with the Stones, so it kind of my dad liked them too, so that helped.
So I wanted to ask you a question. Obviously, you're a John Prine fan, right?
Yeah, big John.
So
Prine.
you were in a John Prine video?
I was in a John.
I saw
Prine
that the other
video.
day, and I'm like, what's going on?
I
with
know.
that?
I forget
How
that
was that
sometimes too.
experience?
It was amazing. I didn't get to meet John Prine, so I should say that from the beginning.
What did they like green screen him in?
Basically.
Oh, okay.
So it was. He had put out an album about 2 years ago of duets. And so what they had done was they shot some video of him with all the different people that did the duets with him. And they wanted to turn that into a sort of a video promo for the album. But then they decided to make it a little more complicated and kind of wrap that up by having it look like an old time movie that was playing in a drive-in movie theater. So luckily some people were making a video for me who also were making this video for John Prine, and they found out I was a really big fan, and they said, like, would you like to be the girl that goes to the drive-in to see this movie? And I said, would I? So anyway, I got to like go to a drive-in and sit in this vintage convertible, and I think we were actually watching Finding Dory, but we pretended like we were watching John Prine, and then later they made it look like we were watching John Prine, so that was really exciting. I like to think that he saw and was impressed by my performance, but I don't actually know that.
Surely, I mean, he's probably listening right now.
I'm
so
sure
if he's out there, he's
quietly. He's just too shy to say anything to me.
That's true. He's just
I understand.
Just hanging out like a creeper in the chat. He's like, confirmed. Yeah.
So you have a new album coming out.
I do in October. Yeah, it's my second solo album, and so my first solo album was a concept album about the Iraq War. And because, that's something that everybody wants to hear, I decided to do another concept album about an equally depressing sounding topic, and that is homelessness. So if you live in Nashville or you spent time here, you've maybe seen there are homeless and formerly homeless vendors that sell. It used to be a paper, it's now a magazine called The Contributor. And they're actually all small business people, so they buy this paper/magazine and then they resell it, and it's pretty excellent publication too, which is how I got interested in it. So I interviewed people selling that, and I wrote songs about their stories. So that's the new album, and I don't think it it sounds like it could be depressing, but if you've heard my first album, which I think is mostly rock and roll and fun to listen to, hopefully you have some faith that I can also sort of take on the stories of homeless and formerly homeless people in a way that's fun to listen to. That was my intent anyway. So.
Hey, that's very cool. I kind of talked to some. I used to work downtown, so I would talk to a lot of them. I went to the offices, met the people behind it. So it's very cool. They do have some good stories for sure. I mean,
it's a really good publication.
Yeah, it is neat. I'm glad they thought about. They were going to shut it down for a while, so I'm glad it's back.
Yeah.
And that it does help people. And a lot of those people are trying to get their act together and all that. So it's nice to see. And like I said, they're all friendly people. I mean, after a while, they would know us, recognize me and my buddy, and chat us up, and we got to know their names, so it's cool.
That was the thing I really hadn't thought through before I started the project, was just what kind of person you have to be that appeals to you as the way to get out of homelessness. I'm shy and probably a little lazy, and I don't think I could get up every single day and go out and meet customers and be the kind of person that other people would believe in and want to buy a product from every single day. I mean, it just takes a lot of fortitude and people skills, and so they're really inspiring people, everybody that I spoke to.
Yeah, I mean, and the best sellers get like the best spots, so they have to hustle. I mean, it's not like you said.
It's a serious business.
Yeah, if you miss a day, you miss that spot, and if you're not at a good spot, it's unfortunate. So. Very cool. What the first album I've been listening to all this week, and I absolutely love it. So, once again, so it's a concept album. It's about, I guess it's you and your husband at the time. Is that what it's based on? I mean, that's what I read. So
yeah, well, it's not sort of my own story verbatim. It's,
right.
But it certainly shares some things in common with my own story, which is I did get married to a guy in the Army. He deployed to Iraq about a week after we got married. He was there for a year, and then when he came home with PTSD, and we ultimately split up. And so the album follows a tale of two people with really similar stories. So they're not kind of me and him. There's a lot of differences in our, but the story arc is the same. So these two people, in the course of the album, these two people meet and they fall in love, and one of them deploys to Iraq, comes home with PTSD, they split up. So it's a sort of a journey through that story in Oversong.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. I'm looking at the songs as they pop. Like Ironwood Strong is like an amazing song.
Oh,
like I was listening to that the other night with headphones, and I was just like, this is really, really good.
Thank you.
And then the rockers, I mean, I love rock. I love Stones. So the rock songs like Dive Bar Sweetheart, oh man, that's my favorite one on there. It's an amazing song. So it's fun to see.
So I've heard you say that you wrote over 40 songs for this album.
Yeah.
And that you had to like whittle it down. You also had a deluxe release, which added 4 more songs.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go about, obviously there's probably some that stand out, but like where are the rest of the songs at? Because there's probably some other really good songs in there.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, most of the other ones at this point, I didn't feel proud enough about them to put them on the deluxe edition. I don't play them out, so probably they're not they're not songs that people should go try to dig up.
So
But
were the songs that you added on the deluxe album, which are Fort Sam Boys, Full of Bourbon.
this is really impressive. I
He's-
think
he
it
was
I'm
leaving, and
Yeah,
then
it
also
was an
the
alternate version.
2013 version of Off My Back.
Yeah.
Like, what made those kind of get the cut? Were they already recorded, or did you decide to go back in the studio? Which
Well, two of them actually. So the old version of Off My Back and I'm Leaving were both done in the same session before I even moved to Nashville with a sort of some bluegrass players that I would play with sometimes there. And then luckily the bass player that's on those recordings is eventually moved to Nashville, and he's still my bass player, and he produced War Surplus and he's the
So we're talking
director for my band. His name's Jeremy.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeremy Middleton.
Jeremy Middleton.
Yeah.
And he's also a veteran himself. So Jeremy actually helped me a lot in the original sort of calling of which songs would make it onto the original version. Both in sort of what he felt like rang true with his experience as a vet, but also like he really had a strong point of view that it should stay a story between these two people. Like I did have one song that I kind of liked that was called Let's Make Small Talk About the War. That was kind of about like the sort of weird things that people will say to veterans in bars to like make small talk about their combat experience. And it was kind of a funny song, which I like a funny song. And but Jeremy thought, oh, it's not really about those two people. It's like this whole other voice. And
Right.
and so there were reasons like that why we cut some things. But mainly I think the best material made it out. It's not like there's anything that I think is like a Grammy Award winning song from those series.
Lee was praising one of the songs last week after we recorded the show. I mean, he was like, no, you got to listen to this song. It's on the deluxe. Which one? Full of Bourbon?
Yeah, I was saying
Yeah.
it hit a little too close to home.
Well, no,
you
that's
know?
cool.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally proud of the ones that made it onto the deluxe edition. And that's actually when I wrote near the tail end of writing War Surplus. And I kind of knew like, oh, this will never make the album because I had already written Off My Back. And I thought it's really similar thematically. And so then I was glad that I kind of had the chance to put that one out. I like that one too.
So there is one song that I don't know how it falls within the War Surplus era, if you will. I don't know what you would call that. But there's one on YouTube called I've Been Thinking About Mexico off the IMT Folk Festival.
Yeah.
That's got to be one of my favorite songs.
Really?
For sure. Like,
That's
what happened
really
to that
interesting. Well, this is like the most detailed anybody's ever. I love this. So
I'm a fan. I'm not
no,
gonna lie.
it's
I'm
great.
a total fan.
You might be the only fan, so that's probably why no one's ever asked me. But yeah, so that song, it actually won an award too. It won like best song in
Wow,
Washington
yeah. I
D.C.
mean,
that
why
year or
not?
something.
I would give it an
People
award.
liked it, but I never felt comfortable with it for some reason. Like I just never felt like it was finished. And I really like kept going back to it and trying to figure out how to make it better. So for people who haven't heard it, which is probably everybody else except you and maybe my mom, I don't know if she managed to tune in. She was going to try. But it's a song that's sort of before the soldier character deploys. It's kind of his girlfriend sort of musing about, well, what if we just like went to Mexico and you didn't deploy? And I think like it captures something that I know I felt before my then husband deployed of like, you're not going to do this thing, but it's sort of this magical thinking of like, well, what if, at that time Don't Ask, Don't Tell was in. So like, what if we just said you were gay, or like, what if we just, did one of these things so you wouldn't have to deploy, and like, there's a million reasons why that you're not going to do that. But so it kind of captured that sort of magical thinking thing, which I did like. But there was something about the song that I never felt like really was finished. And the more I tried to figure out what it was, the more I felt like maybe I should just let this one go and work on one of the other ones that feels closer to being what I want it to be.
Okay. Yeah.
But
so
it's good to hear that you like that one.
do you want to play a song?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
there
Love
something
you.
you want to hear from War Surplus?
Hey,
David,
no, go ahead.
I mean,
No.
I think like probably Call Me Sometime is probably the one song I think that I discovered first on the podcast Sound Opinions NPR.
Cool.
So that's always a good one. But San Antonio I could listen to all the time as well. So
All right.
So,
or David Loves Dive Bar Sweetheart.
I mean,
That's a
whatever. All of them would be great with me. You pick. I mean, it's,
Well, maybe I'll do a medley. I'm
there.
not going to do a medley.
Okay, I was about to say, wow, look at that. All right, so she's gonna she's gonna get going. John's gonna get this fixed, and you guys are gonna be thanking us later for this. So, John is here. He's working his magic.
What kind of magic?
Sound engineering magic. I hope. We'll
Something
see.
I have no business doing.
But we will see.
All right. So I guess I'll do Call Me Sometime.
Okay, cool.
Well, I used to have a heart, but I had to cut it loose. Now there's nothing in my chest but a mess of bad news. A 7-high poker hand, a pawn shop, wedding band, a coffee mug, a bottom shelf of booze. If you wanna drown your heart in gasoline and make-believe, if you think a good lost cause is exactly what you need, if you got a taste for poison with your wine, well then yeah, I guess you can call me sometime. I went to preachers and healers till I wore myself down. I tried pills, I read books, but nothing ever worked out. It ain't a decision, it's a terminal condition. I never feel what they write those songs about. If you wanna drown your heart in gasoline and make-believe, if you think a good lost cause is exactly what you need, if you got a taste for poison with your wine, well then yeah, I guess you can call me sometime. You got eyes to make the devil wanna roll away the stone. My advice is you won't leave well enough alone. But if you wanna drown your heart in gasoline and make-believe, if you think a good lost cause is exactly what you need, if you got a taste for poison with your wine, well then yeah, I guess you can call me sometime.
That was amazing. That was really good. Yeah, that song has been stuck in my head. Like I woke up this morning and that hook was stuck in my head.
Oh,
So,
The bridge to me
Yeah, it
is
was-
like
it was-
really good, but the part where it talks about the 7-high poker hand and the coffee mug of bottom shelf booze is to me is kind of like very John Prine-y almost.
thank you.
So it's like when I first heard that song, I was like, oh, I got to check out more of this for sure. But I mean, I kind of like music that's not necessarily because like a lot of like modern pop music is very electronic or very happy almost, and like a lot of what you write is not. So do you have any thoughts about? I know one interview I heard you say like you had posted about San Antonio and how you thought it was a love song, and everyone's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like a song that, I mean, San Antonio is like a particular example where to me that was like really going out on a limb as a love song for me because I don't really write love songs. And that's why Die Bar Sweetheart was really a hard one for me to do. But I like songs that are like about tough things but are still like really fun and rock and roll to listen to and catchy. Like, you know, there are some songs that are not fun to listen to that I also like, you know, like slower songs that are kind of like tearjerkers. That there's a place for that too, and I appreciate that kind of song. But the place where I feel like I can make the biggest contribution is kind of in writing songs that are like fun to listen to, and then maybe later you're like, oh wait, that was like about something that was kind of like not a happy subject, but I did enjoy listening to it. Maybe I'll try it again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like songs that do that.
So has the kind of like the progression, because so you were in another band before, the Great Unknowns.
Yeah.
Out of Boston, which
Yeah.
is a great albums, great band. It's unfortunate that it didn't stick together, because obviously that would have been it was obviously going places, but obviously also a more country or bluegrass song, like you had mentioned earlier, playing with the bluegrass players, and then even War Surplus has kind of a more Americana feel. Whereas you also released another project, The Reckless Electric, which was way more rock and roll. And, you know, this new album, I've only heard the one song, but it appears to be going in that same direction. Is that kind of like a just an organic growth, or is that more of a decision that you made?
Well, certainly the Reckless Electric was like a kind of a separate, I mean, that's me and my friend Mary Bragg, and we just thought, oh, we'll write a song or an album of songs that are just like fun for us and a little funny, and, you know, it was fun for us to do rock and roll songs. But I did, like, I was just at a show recently, and I just noticed, like, okay, it's like 8 songs in a row that are kind of like mid-tempo or like kind of like droney or whatever, and then there's like a rocker and everybody like stands up. And that's how I always felt listening to albums when I was growing up. And like at some point I was like, wait, why doesn't anybody just put all rockers on the album? Like, I like that.
Yeah, it's all right.
So, you know, there are some songs on the new album that are like, that are slower tempo for sure. I think there's maybe 3 that are kind of ballads, but like, yeah, it's definitely a more rock and roll direction. It doesn't have as much pedal steel as the last album, which I think probably makes it sound a little more rock and roll. And Dan Nobler, who produced it, is also a phenomenal guitar player. And so there's like a lot of layers of electric guitar work on it. So that definitely makes it pretty rockin' too. So yeah, I don't know that if it was an intention, or if I just thought like, I don't want to, you know, let people down. I feel like I gave him this rock and roll look at veterans, so now I want to give him a rock and roll look at homelessness, and I was really determined to do that.
There you go. So it's almost like what I'm hearing. I mean, Ryan Adams Gold to kind of Ryan Adams rock and roll. Is it like, do you follow Ryan Adams?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it? I mean, it's probably not that rock and roll, but you know, it's a little bit more.
It's
like,
a little rock and roll. Like,
yeah.
There's one song. Have you heard the one song that you don't? It's okay if you haven't. There's like one song.
The one
from
released.
album
Of course.
Yeah. So that's like pretty much, that's similar to the record. It's like, you know, yeah, it's like, it's not nobody's gonna mistake it for metal or like something really hip or something. Like, it's still, you know, Americana, but it's probably like slightly more to the rock and roll
very
side
cool
of that spectrum.
Yeah, well, definitely looking forward to that. That should be fun then. So how's your songwriting process go? Like, I mean, everybody does it different, obviously. Do you write songs first, lyrics first, melody? How does it kind of come, or is it just whatever works for you?
Yeah, I kind of do it differently all the time. And I prefer to kind of do melody and lyric together, and then later pick up a guitar and figure out what the chords might be. I mean, the sort of challenge of writing concept albums, and one of the things that I like about it, is you sort of have to be writing to some sort of idea. Right. With the last album, it was kind of tricky because I had to be writing about a point in a story, but then I also had to do it in a way that song would be okay next to the songs that I had already written before or after it. Mm-hmm. So this one I didn't have to worry about sequence as I was writing it, which was kind of nice. And because each one was just the story of one person, I had like a little bit more that I could.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I tend to, when I'm writing for one of these albums, I tend to like think about, okay, you know, I need to, like, how do I get at this particular part of this person's story?
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, we used to be in a band, and we had one album we put out, and it wasn't a concept album, but I thought
what was the band called?
Tokyo Pop Stars.
Okay.
Yeah,
now,
so
you did write a concept album at one point.
We were working on it.
Wait,
and
what was it? What was the concept?
What was the concept album?
Mormon.
No, it was it was basically about going insane. We had a friend that was in the band, and he was going through some issues in his life, and he got institutionalized, and so we kind of lost track of him for a little bit. He had been in a previous band with us, and so it kind of inspired me. I'm like, well, let's write some songs about that descent into the madness.
Yeah.
And we had 10, 11 songs, and
Something like that.
I don't know. We just kind of
Does it exist in any form? Because it sounds
no.
like it could be good.
It does. It was
I
like
think the Spearhead was a song called Quiet Room,
oh yeah.
Okay.
and that there's a single floating around somewhere.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, that is
I
somewhere.
think it's on the dark web. I don't know.
No, it's. I think if you Google, if you Google
somewhere.
"Quiet Room" Tokyo Pop Stars, yes, so he's actually singing on that song, which is kind of wild. But yeah, and so we kind of got back in touch with him, and we kind of got a new band together. That was kind of like just me, John, and a couple friends, so it wasn't anything serious. But then let's do a serious. We called Lee back to play bass with us, and me and John were guitar, and we got a drummer, and so we kind of went forward with it. So I understand, writing a concept album is tough to piece it together for sure. I mean, because you'll have like a great song, you're like, well, this doesn't really fit with what I'm going with. So because I tend to write music first and then kind of I had an idea of a melody, but the lyrics sometimes were like, But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that's been done
There's
before.
a lot of times David would bring in like 2/3 of a song or half a song, and somebody else would finish it, or vice versa, and so some of the songs lyrically you can tell that there's a difference. in the
Yeah, I mean,
vibe.
that's
we had a
interesting.
theme. Like David wrote a bunch of love songs.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote like just weird, nonsensical stuff, and John wrote about Spider-Man.
Oh,
So
this band just keeps sounding better and better.
That's the insidest joke of all time. Yeah, John wrote this one song and it had, I don't know what the lyrics were, something about Spider Woman. It was Spider Woman,
Spider-Woman.
and Lee would just wrote
to
them.
this day.
Wrote them hard about it. I was like, yeah. For me, writing about love was kind of easy, I guess. It was kind of harder sometimes to write about things that weren't. I mean, love is
Yeah,
just
see, we're opposites, and I find writing about love like impossible.
right. I don't know. I just
You're
I
just
can.
full of love.
I
You
guess
should've
I
done it.
just I love life. I
He's
guess.
full of something.
Yeah. So
was it love or was it lust?
I
don't
mean, lust,
know.
love.
I
What's
mean,
the what's the
where's
line?
the line,
Where's the
really?
line?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, for sure. So, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
somebody posted the Bandcamp.
Oh, there you go. Tokyo.
I'm gonna
Wait,
be looking that up later.
yeah, TokyoPopstars.com actually will take you there. We still got it, just in
Still have
case.
that
Yeah,
down
Just
there.
in
don't
case.
let go of that URL.
So, like, speaking about bands, so you actually have a gig at the AmericanaFest coming up.
I do,
So
yeah.
Do you have the details on that?
Yeah, so the official showcase is with the Reckless Electric, this side project that I have with Mary, and that is at Acme Seed and Feed on the Tuesday of AmericanaFest. Which, side note, is also the day. So I was recently on Jeopardy. So that's also the day that my episode of Jeopardy airs.
Wow, that's a big day.
It's a
That's-
big day.
So for people
yeah.
that don't know, tell us about Jeopardy
Well,
too.
there's
so
really not that
AmericanaFest,
much that I can
Jeopardy.
say about Jeopardy because you have to sign all these
Mm-hmm.
non-disclosure things. But so I can't tell you anything about how I did or what the questions
Well,
were.
how'd you get in? How did you get on Jeopardy? Like, what's the process?
These days you can take an online test, which I had done before. If you pass the online test, then they invite you to an in-person audition, and I had done that before. Last time I made it to the in-person audition, I then did not get on the show, which was like really it's difficult for your ego to take because it means like you knew enough random trivia to make it to the audition, but they didn't think you were interesting enough to be on Jeopardy.
You
And
really-
like
no,
I
hold
feel
on,
like the
wait.
bar for being on Jeopardy is not as high as say like The Price is Right. So that hurt.
They didn't tell you that though.
Well, no, but like that's why they don't take you.
Well, maybe you
once
just
they meet in
didn't.
person.
Maybe you didn't match up with the people beside you or something. Maybe you had too
Right,
much
I didn't have-
personality. You know, who's to say? I mean, who knows? But you got to call back, obviously.
But I took the test again
Okay.
years later.
Wait. So what did you do the second time you didn't do the first time?
Okay,
Were
well
you
that
like-
was the thing is I really thought about it, and the first time, well you'll know this because you followed my career, and that was that the Great Unknowns, we had an album, and then as my marriage was kind of falling apart, I wasn't really doing music. So this first audition happened during that time. I think I was in grad school, so I put down like I was a grad student, and I like for years I've thought, why did I put that I was a grad student? Like that's the most boring job you could have. So this time I put rock musician as my job. And I just thought I was really going to own it, and I was going to go in, I was going to dress like as rock and roll as you could dress within like the Jeopardy wardrobe.
which was what?
Well, you have to dress kind of business casual, so there's really not a lot of room to be rock and roll, but I tried, and like I put on eyeliner, and I wore black. That's all
She's
you
got
can
a
do, really.
pantsuit with a bandana on her head.
Right. The like Bruce Springsteen suit jacket. But yeah, and I just went in, and then I just tried to be like, pretended like I was a really outgoing person, which I'm not. But like as soon as I got into the hotel for the audition, like everyone I saw, I was like, hey, how are you? You know, I just thought I would like really look like I was a charming person. And I guess it worked because they called me for the very first week of the new season. So it's like,
wow.
Yeah, this is about to be Jeopardy season 35, which I'm sure you already knew.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But I was there on the very first day of taping for the new season.
That
so
is wild.
So
yeah.
did they give you a score on like the online test and the in-person test?
No, they
or?
don't tell you anything. They just tell you
Interesting.
like once you do the in-person audition, they just say like, you know, don't call us, we'll call you. If you don't hear from us within 18 months, we're not going to call you.
Wow.
So I was prepared to wait like 18 months and then maybe take the test again, but they called me right away. So that's how to get on, I guess, is tell them you're a rock musician.
Well, I mean, you're obviously smart. I mean, what do you mean? Like,
Well, I know a lot of, we could debate about whether smart is the same as knowing a lot of trivia, but I do know a lot of trivia. I enjoy trivia.
like give some tips to people that, how do you just learn trivia? I mean, John's not too bad at it, but are there any tips you just read random things or, I mean, there's got to be some secret to it.
I think you just have to be interested in things. Like when somebody tells you like something about like, oh, they're from Nebraska or something, instead of being like, oh, you have to be the kind of person that's like, oh, really? What part of Nebraska? And then get them to talk about like where it is and what river it's near and like what their city is notable for or whatever. And then you have to just kind of be a person who remembers those sorts of things.
Well, I'm out.
If you got to,
I'm out automatically. You're from Nebraska? Well, let me tell you about me. I'm not from Nebraska.
what would be your like ideal category?
Oh,
if you got to-
music.
Music.
Yeah,
really?
That was it. I was like, I did have some fear that I would get a music category and then I would do terribly at it. Like maybe it would be current pop music or something and all the questions would be about like, I don't even know if One Direction is really still current, but like the members of One Direction or something. And I would be just standing there and Alex would be like, but it said you're a rock musician. It'd be embarrassing. But I still thought if there was a music category, I would probably do better at it than the other contestants.
Really?
And I can't tell you whether that ended up being the case or not.
And what would be a category that you're like, I'm not going to choose a question from that category?
Well, I'm not. I tried to like learn a little bit about opera, but I don't really know much about opera or ballet or like. Funnily enough, because I do as a day job, I work for the British government, so like British politics I know, but British monarchy, like anything about kings and queens, I really am terrible at.
Yeah.
Sports, I really tried to learn a lot about baseball. Like
Yeah.
that was where I was going to kill. I'd learned like everything you could learn about the 1960s Dodgers, and I was so ready for that. But any other sports questions, would not have been.
Hold
good.
on. I'm sorry. You just say in your sports research, you researched the 1960s Dodgers, hoping that was, hey,
I just thought,
look.
maybe. And nicknames, baseball player nicknames, those come up a lot. So I thought, well, that's easy. Like, they never just ask you about Willie Mays. They always say like hey kid, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to know anything else about Willie Mays except his nickname. So I studied that.
I wish it had been like 60s Dodgers baseball and then like One Direction would have been like a whole nother thing. It's like, who is Harry Styles? I don't know. It's not right.
Yeah. Well, tune in.
Yeah.
Tune in to see
I
if
can't
that's
wait.
what it was. Yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch. So
It kind of reminds me of that movie White Men Can't Jump, right? Like,
yeah, Rosie Perez. Yeah.
She has like, is it Jeopardy? She's
Yeah, she won Jeopardy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot that about that movie.
I'm more of a, what's that, spin the wheel?
Wheel of Fortune?
Yes, I'm more of that. I mean,
More of a Price is Right type, maybe?
yes. When I was
Plinko.
little, I would stay home from school and I would watch Price is Right like all the time. And I got to where I knew like what most of the prices were. So I was like, man, 10, 11-year-old, if I could go on that show, man, I'd win that car instantly. And so then we used to watch it at work and I got really good at it again just because it's the same stuff over and over. You just got to kind of remember what the price is. So I don't know.
I have a friend who she got a hole-in-one on
Really?
the game. She won $100,000 on like a hole-in-one. Yeah.
That's
I
my
mean,
dream.
That's a lot easier than going on Jeopardy, but you have to, be really good at putt-putt, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's my dream is Plinko, putt-putt, and then that mountain guy.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Odie.
I love that guy. That's the best. Well, that's exciting. That's pretty cool then.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, when is it coming
So
out?
that
Do you know?
is, September 11th. Easy to remember. Which is also the day of my official AmericanaFest showcase with
Really?
the Reckless Electric. And then I'm also doing a couple unofficial things with my own solo stuff.
During
so look for that as well. During
Americana?
AmericanaFest, yeah.
Oh.
What is just like pop-up shows? Like,
Well, there's one that I don't know if you know the blog, The Alternate Route. I'm doing one with them.
Okay.
And then Train Case Management, who does like Boo Ray, I'm doing one with them at Mitchell's, which should be, or not at Mitchell's, Martin's, the other M
Okay,
guy.
yeah.
So that should be fun. Anyway, I'll be
wow.
around.
To keep it on the
That's
calendar.
awesome.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's very cool. We'll definitely be checking that out. I'd like to go check that out. That's pretty cool. So
It's a pretty fun festival if you've never been.
yeah, I never have. I wasn't even aware we had one. I mean, I guess I'm just used to like CMA. I work downtown, so I see I'm like, okay, CMA, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know.
It's not crazy like that, but
Okay.
you get a wristband, which I believe is like $80.
Okay.
And it gets you into every show the whole week, and it's really great. I mean, I sound like I don't work for them, but I went before I ever played it, because you can go to like 6 shows a night if you sort of time it right.
Right.
And yeah, it's a really good deal.
We'll check it out. So that's a great gig. Like now we played many bad gigs because we were a small band.
I've played a lot of them.
So
too.
what's like the worst one we ever did? This would be, I mean, well, there's a couple, but I'm just gonna go with the easiest one to tell. Because the one we went to North Carolina and it was a story upon story. I mean, it was like an hour-long thing, but basically we went on tour with another band, like a mini tour of and we went to 2 states. That's a mini tour. But the lady we were touring with was apparently, I guess, a drug addict, and she took all of our money at the end of the show and left, and someone saw her shooting up in the bathroom, and then she left. So but that wasn't the worst show. That was actually fun. That was a local band. So we played at a place in Dixon. Do you know where that's at? It's like West Nashville. And they actually booed her off the stage, like the crowd. I've never seen.
But did they know that she had stolen money? Maybe that's
no,
what they're about
no,
that.
they just didn't like
It
her.
was
She
musically-
was like kind of weird. And I've never seen a local band like boot. And then we had to go play covers for like the next hour and a half, and we're not a cover band.
Yeah.
So we were just like looking, okay, yeah.
We're holding up our phone, trying to play guitar at the same
Do you
time, looking at
remember
the
which
chords.
covers you played?
Oh my God!
Pocket full of shit.
We played Rage Against the Machine, which we're not qualified to do. We did some Stone songs. I remember there were these old ladies in front. And they go, "Play a Beast of Burden, come on, play it." And I was like, I don't. I mean, I wish I could. I don't know how to play that though. Yeah, I love Beast of Burden. That's a great song.
Yeah.
But but then we went to Jackson. We drove 3 hours.
Yeah.
We get there. Every band had canceled.
Oh no.
We got there and there was one guy and his wife there in this huge auditorium, and they were just dancing at the very. You could just see them at the very back, and it was the only people that showed up. So what?
We
what
probably deserve that because on the way there we were making off-color Christopher Reeve jokes.
I don't know about that, but anyway. So what? What's what? Yeah, I don't know why you brought that up, John.
Write that one down.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Apology for that. So what's one of your gigs that stands out?
Probably the worst one that comes to mind, and the one. So I always, whenever I get to a show and there's nobody there, I always say, "Well, I've played to fewer people than this." And the show I'm always thinking of is once when I was in the Great Unknown. So our first album had just come out, so we were what feels now impossibly young, and I had just gotten married, and the guy I had married to was in Iraq. And which ended up kind of being a lucky thing in this story because somehow we got routed through Sumter, South Carolina. And so the only thing in Sumter, which is not Fort Sumter, which is actually near Charleston, is like Sumter. And the only thing there is a military base. In fact, it may have closed now, but at that point it was open. And so luckily one of my then husband's army buddies, his family lived in Sumter. So thank goodness they came out to the show, which was hilarious because it was sort of like it was this all ages venue, but what it really seemed to be like was these people that just like squatted in this warehouse like after hours when they hoped no one would notice, and all of the other bands and patrons were like under 16 years old, and they all kind of played like angry emo music. And anyway, they all played first. I guess they were opening for us. And then of course they all left because first of all they were in high school, and so they were only there to hear their friends. So they all left, and luckily this army guy's parents were there, and so that they were like probably old enough to be grandparents of some of these kids, and they stayed, and the two of them listened to my band play. So there were 4 of us on stage, and then there were these 2 older people in the audience, and that was the show. And we played in like this weird warehouse, and where they did have beer, but they weren't supposed to, so they like had to like surreptitiously pour it into like coffee cups or something. Anyway, it was quite a show, and then we went on to I can't even remember where we went next, but Yeah.
But there you go. It's
But
about
that's
it's
what you
yeah,
do.
it's about like
from
ours.
there, though.
Well, and we gracefully, I say gracefully, got kicked out of Exit Inn one night. So there was that as well. But you know, whatever happens, we basically our guy that kind of lost it. He had decided to get into a fight with the bouncers. I forget why, and so we got banned from Exit
Yeah.
Inn. So we played it at least, but yeah, so there we go.
They've probably forgotten about that.
Oh,
now.
I'm sure now I've been back since, but I was kind of like my hat real low. But
So do you have like the opposite of that, like a favorite place you played?
Yeah,
or a
so
favorite
for
show?
sure. So the Indigo Girls, especially Amy Ray, one of the Indigo Girls, has been a major supporter of mine since my band's first album came out in 2004. She actually put that album out for us on her label, and then she's kind of stayed in touch with me all these years later, and so I've got to open a lot of shows for them. And the most amazing one I ever got to open was they did this series of shows they called Four Voices, where it was the two Indigo Girls and Joan Baez and Mary Chapin Carpenter.
Oh, wow.
And only one of those shows had an opener, and they asked me to open it.
Wow.
And it was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, at a botanical garden. So it's like you're playing in this gorgeous botanical garden, and you know, I was sitting there, like I got to meet Mary Chapin Carpenter, my dad died 20 years ago, so it was like really emotional for me to meet Mary Chapin Carpenter since she was my dad's favorite artist, and
Right.
And so that was amazing, and you know, playing in this beautiful venue, and you know, Joan Baez, like
that's, yeah.
pretty everyone knows who she is. So that was probably the most amazing one I've ever played.
I'm
That
a
was pretty
big
cool.
fan of Indigo.
We've
Girls
got
as
an Indigo
well.
Girl. So me
Yeah.
and John, we
Yeah.
went downtown one night, and there was like this Dancing in the District. It was like Live on the Green kind of.
Yeah.
And so we get there and we're hanging out. We don't know who's playing. Like, right. And so I'm looking around like, man, there are a lot of girls here. This is good. This is the best show ever. And I start looking around. And I go, yeah, there is a lot of girls here. I was like, we're the only guys like I can see here. And then I kind of start looking around and go, I look at John. I go, are we at an Indigo Girls concert? And there they come on stage. I was like, oh, there we go. That explains it all.
That's
so,
pretty sweet.
Yeah. So we did get to see them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
They
pretty
do
cool.
a really good show.
Yeah.
And actually, Amy puts out a lot of solo records, and she has a solo record coming out just shortly before my album comes out. And I can't say that I've heard it because I keep trying to hear it, and she won't let me hear it. So, but what I've heard of her play live is like just awesome. It's going to be called Holler. And anyway, I love them. They've been amazing to me in every way.
I've been a big fan of them since high school.
Yeah. Well,
So-
they're even better than you probably hoped they would be as people. They're really great.
That's great.
Sweet.
So you want to play another song?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I mean, people are ready for it. That last song was awesome. Kind of get like chill bumps, like hearing that song in person. So it was awesome.
Did you get my message, John?
No.
Y'all are passing messages?
Apparently they are. I don't know. We're on the outs here.
I thought I left a guitar pick there. This happens to me at home as well.
I used to lose picks like
Okay,
crazy.
usually
Yeah,
keep
I mean,
another one in my pocket.
there we go.
Anything in particular?
Lee, anything? I mean, do you want
Batter's choice.
to play the new single or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure.
Oh,
So
okay, I
so
didn't know that was an option.
yeah, so
That's an option. I mean, this is like the beginning of, you know, the promotion for the new album. I've like professionally taped this thing that helps me remember how to play some of the new songs.
that's all right. That's
Yeah.
not a bad idea.
That's how you can tell it's new.
There you go.
Let me tune up. So actually, there's a good segue with this because Amy Ray sings on this song on the album, which was awesome. Like that's an awesome thing about her. I was nervous to approach her and ask her to sing on the song, and she immediately said like, "Yeah, I'll do whatever you want, whenever you want me to do it." She's really great.
That's,
So,
I mean, that's good to hear. For
yeah.
Sure.
So I can't do her part, but I'll do my part.
There you go.
Back home, they pass Christmas Day by killing something wild and mark the years by where they strip the soil away. Mama wouldn't let Daddy use the good towels on account of that black dust in West Virginia clay.
fantastic. I love it. I'm now ready for this album more so than I was before. I'm ready. Let's go ahead and get that advanced copy. Just slide that over to us across the table. So the album is done though. Like
it is done.
Okay.
Yeah, it's done. There's this like weird thing. Well, I don't know if you ever did like a official promotional campaign with your
a small one, but probably not what you're doing for sure. What goes into that? Like, how do you? So in this day and age, how do you promote? Like, who's helping you do it? What's the process of that? Like, because it was a couple years ago, so obviously it's changed a little bit on that. But how do you go about doing that? Like, what's involved with?
Yeah, so you it usually takes like at least if you're like trying to do it fast, like I was, because I really wanted. So all my albums have always taken like 7 years to put out, and I really wanted. It was really important to me to get this one out in like 2 years. Right. So I was like, I want to do this as fast as possible, but about as fast as you can do it is about 3 months.
Yeah.
So you have to have it all finished, because then you have to send it out to radio stations, and you have to kind of send it to publications, and some of them have a long lead time, and so you're just trying to get sort of all the pieces in place so that when it actually comes out, it doesn't like land with a giant thud that nobody hears.
So, like, when All Things Considered or all that, so you send stuff out to them, like, and they call you back. Like, what was that? So, did you know you were featured on all? Like, you said she was played on NPR. Like, did you know that? Did they tell you
All
ahead?
Things Considered, I believe.
Yeah,
so,
that was actually, it was sort of like Jeopardy in that I wasn't sure it was going to happen, because, like, I knew that, I was like, so the publicists that I had for that, really, they were working kind of the music publication angle, and I was really interested in the veteran angle. So I was looking into, who are the big writers about veterans issues, and there's a guy, Quill Lawrence, who does most of the veterans coverage for NPR, and I was just super lucky that, I sent him the album, and he really liked it.
Nice.
And the timing was such, too, that album came out also in October, and he decided, like, I want this to be my Veterans Day piece. This year for All Things Considered, and I assume, like, unless some huge news happens, like, the veterans guy gets to do a veterans piece.
Yeah.
So, like, he recorded it, and I obviously I knew, like, he interviewed me, and I went there and talked to him, and it was amazing. And but I just kind of, like, I'm the sort of person that was like, well, hopefully it'll happen, but whatever, life happens, who knows, like, something else could come up, or like, so I actually was driving to a sparsely attended performance in Mississippi that day, and I was like trying to figure out where NPR was, and I was it was like in the beginning where they do like teasers for the stories that are going to happen. Like, I heard my voice, and they said this Veterans Day, and I pulled over, and I was like, oh my god! Awesome. And then I got to the show, and it was like so middle of nowhere Mississippi that my phone didn't work or anything, and I just thought, like, oh my gosh, when I finally get back to a place with reception, like, I'm going to be so famous, and everybody's going to be texting me, and like every guy I ever dated who was a jerk to me is going to be texting me like, I'm sorry, Becky, you're famous now. But actually, like, I got back to reception, and there was nothing.
Oh, man.
But it was it was super cool.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. I mean, that
was a really big deal to me.
That's how you found out about it, right?
Yeah, Sound Opinions.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So, thank goodness for that.
Well, it's funny because, like, I'd heard her, and I was like, wow, I'm going to check the album out. I was like, this is a super cool album. She's super famous and everything. And it's like, and I found out she lived in Nashville and was playing. I was like, oh, I've got to go to this show. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and then you were totally surprised by just the hordes of people at the show. Like, you couldn't even.
Well, I mean, so, it was
standing room only.
Back when the Family Wash was still open, it was actually a decent crowd.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. No, I missed that place a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really amazing.
But that's a cool. So I'm glad you still like. That's still an exciting moment because I know. Yeah,
totally.
like we were on the radio like twice just in Murfreesboro, and we were like over the moon about like this is the coolest thing ever. So yeah. I can't imagine that. I definitely would have been freaking out as well.
Yeah.
But that's very cool. So all right. So you got the album coming out, and then do you track like Spotify and how like important is that to you as an artist today? Like, do you really follow up with that, or is there someone letting you know, like, hey, you're doing pretty good, this or that?
You actually, they have tools now where you can check your performance. So I don't know if your album's on Spotify, but if it is, you can now get in there and get your stats.
They're probably low. I mean, I do listen from time to time, so it'd be like, oh yeah, one guy listened again, but no,
and it'll tell you like, oh, most of your fans are a man that lives in Nashville, and then you'll know it's probably you.
Cool guy.
But maybe there's like 10 people in Sweden, or
could be.
Tokyo.
So
yeah, maybe. So yeah, you
what
can.
What is this?
Oh my gosh.
it's definitely it's definitely the way most people are listening to music now is streaming.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important for sure, and you know, it's sort of, some of it is a little bit of a black box because there's you know, some Spotify owned playlists, and it's tough to get on those, but those are where most of the listeners find you. So I've had some luck getting on some of those, and you know, hopefully that luck will continue. But yeah, it's definitely, and it's not you know, it doesn't, nobody's like, or nobody at my level is raking in like millions from Spotify,
right.
but like you know, it's not like you don't even notice the paycheck. You know, you get paid for
Right.
it. So
Well, that's cool. So
Yeah, so I
do
appreciate it.
you have any vinyl available? Are you going to? Because I really my idea is like, I'll get a vinyl.
Yeah.
She'll autograph it. It'll be awesome. But nothing yet.
no.
You
Here's
gotta-
the thing about vinyl. I would love to do vinyl, especially War Surplus. We recorded all analog, and like
Oh,
I
wow.
really wanted to do vinyl. It's expensive to do, and then it's just, you know, you can't order in small quantities really, and then it's tough to tote around to shows.
I'm
you know?
sure. Yeah.
So like I didn't want to do it unless I was sure that I could sell a bunch of them right out of the gate, and I don't think I'm really at a place where I can do that. So no, I haven't done it. I mean, it would be like a dream if I could go back at some point and re-release War Surplus, especially on vinyl. I would love to do that. So you know,
Well-
that'd be great. You'll know I've made it when I can,
Well,
when I
you-
feel
yeah.
like I can take that.
So you got
risk.
1 sale, 2 sale, 3 sales. So there you
There
go.
you go.
Yeah, we put out a vinyl in our first
Yeah.
band before that, and we just did a split with another band, which is
Yeah.
what a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of indie people
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
So, but no, I would love. So if that happens,
Yeah.
I'll definitely
I
I'll
will let
buy
you
that
know.
for sure, because I think that would sound great.
Yeah.
I've just gotten
And
a
it
point.
really,
Yeah.
like, as a story, it divides really neatly into two
Ah,
sides.
there you
so
go.
I like that too. I would love to do it. Hopefully
Okay.
someday.
Well, if anyone's out there listening, make that happen. Yeah, I mean, I'm now we're at a point where I only like to really listen to music like with headphones on,
Yeah.
like both ears in. And I mean, I've got 3 kids or 2 kids, one on the way, and so it's kind of hard sometimes to find time to listen to music. But yeah, I just anything on vinyl with headphones is just
Yeah.
I don't know, it just sounds amazing. So hopefully soon.
Yeah.
So there you go, Lee. You got anything else, man?
Well, I mean, we're running up on the hour. I don't know if you wanted to.
Play another song?
Sure.
Yeah. You want to play one
Yeah,
more?
sure.
Here we go. You gotta get. She's here, man. Like you gotta. So play the tunes.
You want to hear another one from War Surplus?
Just
or
go ahead and do the
something?
whole album. And
Yeah. You could just start.
Um,
Yeah. Let's. Can we hear "Dive Bar Sweetheart"?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
you know, it's not as exciting on acoustic guitar as it is with like all the guitars, but you know what it sounds like,
I do.
so you can feel that stuff in your head.
I think everyone will be impressed.
Well, if you want to sing the backup parts, I feel like those are
You
really
know,
important.
next time you come on,
You'll have
I'll
them.
jump right in. I was almost singing along to the first song you did, and I was like, yeah, I don't need to do that. I was like, yeah, let me back off here. So, all right.
Ash on the carpet, stains on the wall. Everybody's here 'cause they're better off drowning in alcohol. Singing along with the jukebox
was awesome. Yes, that was good. I loved it. Yeah, I think you undersold that for sure. That was amazing. All right. Well, yeah, that is so cool. Okay, so I guess we're almost out of time, which is crazy because it went by like super fast. But all right, so go ahead, tell people how they can follow you and then follow the progress of your album, get the album, all that good stuff. Go ahead.
So I'm on like all the social media as This Is Becky W. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I guess there's other social media that I'm not on, but those are those ones I'm not. Probably. And then my website is BeckyWarren.com. So you can find out all about everything on those things. And I send out an email list that you can sign up for on my website, where I also send out a monthly infographic. So if you just also happen to be into weird infographics.
Oh, I love infographics.
Oh my gosh, you got to sign up.
Okay, I will. I don't know why I haven't. I'm kind of disappointed I haven't. Okay, well, I will definitely do that. And then, so you got the album October 19th, 2018, which will be here soon. And then you're playing the AmericanaFest September the 12th, right?
September 11th.
Oh, 11th. Oh, yeah. I'm okay.
But I'll be playing a few times that week. So
right.
yeah. So
there you go. That's why you
lots of times. Yeah. Gotcha. So I can't remember if I'm also playing September 12th, but definitely several times that week. Jeopardy's also September 11th.
Yeah, you got a lot going on. So thank you so much for coming out and doing the show with us. Lee, are we going to do anything else? We got any major keys, anything like that?
Well, we have a Dear John and a major key if you want.
I mean, it's up to you, John. Do you want to do a Dear John?
Let's not spoil it. Let's just go.
There you go. No Dear John this week. All right. So, go check her out for sure. And guys, go check us out as well. You can go to blameyourbbrother.net. That's our website. It's got all the social media links, Twitter, Facebook, like she said, all those, Instagram. You can subscribe to the show, check out our past episodes. It's all there. All the links are there. We're streamed every Thursday on radiovegas.rocks. So go check us out at radiovegas.rocks. You can buy shirts on the website. It's all there. Leave a voicemail. Email John. He'll give you some advice next week. And Lee, what's our major key of the week?
I think it's Dream Small.
Dream Small. I like that. All right. Well, I guess, Lee, with that being said, is there anything else?
Don't blame yourself when you can blame your brother.
Sorry?
This must never be seen by anyone.
You want me to play it again?
Has anybody seen this?
Nobody has seen this.
They have to be found and talked to.